What's going on, everybody? I am Perry White. I'm the host of the Jaguar Journal. I want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.
Opinionated, outspoken, informative. The Jaguar Journal. Your source for the latest information on Southern University sports and SWAC athletics. A Baton Rouge sports talk tradition.
All right, bright and early on a Saturday morning. Good morning to everybody. 7:06 a.m. Central Standard Time. It is the Jaguar Journal. I'm Perry White. Good to have you guys with us. My man Mike on the board holding it down behind the scenes. Good morning to everybody listening on 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge capital city area. Glad to have you guys. A little foggy out there this morning if you're here in the Baton Rouge area. And everybody listening and watching across the world, the United States, man, good to have you guys with us. They're watching on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook. And as always, be sure to go hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It costs nothing, just support. And hit that like and follow on our Facebook. We're also, my man Mike got me everything I need to know. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Just simply type in the Jaguar Journal on X and Instagram. We are the Jaguar Journal _ on Facebook at the Jaguar Journal. Each one of those has a description, a link in the description to our link tree to be able to follow to get all of those at one time. And then listen, it's tax season, and I know some of y'all, you got to buy the kids a car. You might be time to get you a car. Y'all got to holler at my man Mike. Got to get in contact with my man Mike. He's getting off of them Toyotas, them Hondas, and the Mazdas. So trucks, cars, whatever you're looking for, my man Mike. If y'all see him right now, I'm ready to buy a car from him right now. When you hit the lot, he walking out. How can I help you? So y'all make sure y'all holler at my man Mike, and y'all make sure y'all subscribe, like, and follow the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody. Hope you're having a good morning. Oh, man, it's March 8th. St. Patrick's Day will be next week. Baton Rouge will be full of life once again as it was this past weekend. And South Louisiana this past week of Mardi Gras. Good time, wasn't it? Some places. And in other places, it wasn't such a good time. Had a shooting over in Maryland. Is it Maryland? Yeah. Mamu, that's it. I don't understand what people be doing, man. When it's time to have a good time, let me have a good time And y'all going to feel like in the old Wild West, old Wild West days, and duel it out in the field away from everybody. Don't duel it out in front of everybody, because I don't want to be a part. I don't want to run. I ain't trying to get hit by. I don't want to be a part of nothing that you're feuding with. When you see the person you beefing with, tap them on the shoulder, say, "Sir, meet me in the field in 5 minutes." Now, y'all can throw hands or y'all can duel it like the Wild Wild West. But if y'all gonna duel it, let it just be y'all two. Or whoever. Get away from people. Don't spoil people's fun, and nonetheless, don't take people's lives because of something you got going on with somebody else. Because typically, when you do it that way, the person you going after typically don't even be the one to get hit. It's an innocent bystander. It's somebody who had nothing to do with nothing. Find somewhere else to go do that stuff at. You're killing the flow. You're killing the fun. And now I believe a lot of those smaller towns, they're reevaluating Mardi Gras moving forward. I can only imagine being on the stage, being the entertainment, and that pops off. I'm up there jamming with me and the band and I, and then boom, this pops off. Y'all make me sick with this stuff. Stop spoiling the fun for everybody else. I absolutely hate that. And yeah, I'm going on a rant because it happens all too often. Whether you at a bar or club or whether you just out enjoying a Zydeco at Mardi Gras. Why not? Why would you want to do that right then and there? It bothers me, man. It really does. It truly bothers me. And unfortunately, lives have been lost for absolutely nothing. And a lot of times, as we look at it, the lives that was lost had nothing to do with anything. So I'm sorry to hear about that incident that occurred over there. Was not good. But for those who did celebrate and have, hey, Tuesday was an awkward day, wasn't it? Zulu rose at 6:30 a.m. Inclement weather coming into the state. Across the South that entire day, a line of storms were coming through with winds. When I tell you those winds were up there. So it made sense in essence to get people where they needed to get in a timely manner, because the last thing you want to do is get caught in New Orleans with that influx of people. And we all already know New Orleans doesn't hold water very well, does it? In a storm, in the rain. Then you throw in the factor of all this stuff everywhere, people everywhere, traffic bad. Then the storm with the wind comes through. But it was different to see, because I was expected to go down to Zulu that day. Southern's band was expected to perform. Jackson State was coming down. It was one of those Zulus. It was like, all right, yeah, this is how we're going to put a cap on it this year. This is going to be a good cap. Let's roll with it. And the storms came through. Things were wrapped up. They wanted parades wrapped up by 11 a.m. And my God, by 11 a.m., it was wrapped up. But rightfully so, because once those storms finally did come through, you understood the importance that it came down to the safety of everyone who's out and about. Because when you're inebriated, when you're out there full of the Mardi Gras juice, a lot of times your perception and how your awareness isn't necessarily its heightened point. And you factor in a storm comes through with the wind force that came through. I know here in Baton Rouge, it was pretty tough. Knocked down limbs and some power out in some places, some damage around the Baton Rouge capital city area. You know, it is what it is. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed Mardi Gras. I had an opportunity. I did the South Down Parade on Friday night, which is more a family-oriented parade here in the South Down neighborhood of Baton Rouge. I, of course, starting to become a fan of the Spanish Town Parade on Saturday here in Baton Rouge. And then Sunday, I went down to my favorite parade, the Bacchus Parade. I probably walked 23,000 steps on Sunday, y'all. When I looked at my GPS to find my car, it told me when I, put it in, my car was an hour walk away. And that's just all the walking just leading up to it. So hope you guys had a safe one. Take those feet and get them manicured, get them soaked, get them rubbed out the Mardi Gras. Listen, your feet are important. And when you put that much walking, that many miles on your feet, you got to take care of them. Some of y'all have feet out there that just look horrible. You wouldn't take a sock off in front of nobody. Take them feet and get them things soaked, man. Get them bunions smoothed down. Get them nails cut. Them feet are important. I could not wait to get. That's when I know I'm getting older. When I get home, I'm ready to kick my feet up. I used to be able to be on my feet all day, Mike. I can't do it no more. I could tailgate here, tailgate there. Man, I'm looking for a seat. And I don't care what the seat look like. It can be a curve. It could be a little brick wall. It could be a chair. I need one. My feet be hurting. I'm getting a little older, y'all. Just want to share that with y'all because I know some of y'all feet hurt too. Let's take a break. Enough of that. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
Student athlete of this week is Quincy Richard. He's a grad student majoring in secondary education and a 3.4 GPA. He is 15-2 as a starter at Southern since coming there from Opelousas, Louisiana.
Quincy Richard is the quarterback, and Don, this is a man who's really changed his game from last season, and he's a graduate student as well.
Yes, he has, Bob. Quincy Richard has matured into the unquestioned leader of this Southern University offensive attack. 10 wins this season, and he set school marks for passing yards and touchdown passes. And Bobby's had a lot of help, only 5 sacks on the season.
And he earned his undergraduate degree back in August. He's taking some master's classes, and he wants to be a lawyer.
The offensive player of the year in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, quarterback Quincy Richard of Southern University.
And Quincy Richard did everything that Coach Pete Richardson asked him to do. He exceeded it. He had the best season as a quarterback in Southern University history. In their history, he's played phenomenally all year long. He's got a quick release, a strong arm, and more importantly, he's a senior and he's got that leadership.
Here's Richard looking in the end zone. Has a man there. Touchdown, Southern University.
Play clock down to 3. Richard gets it off over the middle. Touchdown!
Holmes goes in motion and comes set on a 1st and 10. Richard completes it. That's Ard. Ard down the sideline. He could go. And finally pushed out of bounds. Richard's run for 10 touchdowns this season. He's going to keep it. Richard goes in. Make it 11 for Quincy Richard. Richard wide open. Touchdown, Chris Davis. Oh, does he love playing football even more now?
That in the flag against Grambling, holding on the kickoff.
Richard looking deep, and it's a touchdown.
But only 3 times did he go down. Twice he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. It goes down as a sack.
2nd and 8. The deep ball, and that's our man, Chris Davis, for the touchdown. Time for today's State Farm Players of the Game. And from Southern University, the quarterback, number 15, Quincy Richard, 34 of 42, 552 yards, 5 touchdown passes.
Quincy, on behalf of State Farm Insurance Companies, I want to present you with a trophy for the most outstanding player today. Congratulations.
Quarter. Richard looking in the end zone. Wow. And it's caught! It is caught! Great field position with 6:10 to go. And here's a little fade pattern into the end zone. Beautiful. And a great catch and touch.
To everybody, hope you guys are having a good Saturday morning. It is 7:18 a.m. as we get things rock and roll. Got a conversation for y'all, and I want to see if you want to join in on this one. And it's particularly centered towards around college football. And you tell me, when it comes to college football, what do you think? There are teams on the FBS level that have decided to withhold and not play a spring game in 2025. Some of those teams include Nebraska, Ohio State, Iowa, Minnesota, USC. That's out of the Big Ten. In the SEC, Alabama, Missouri, Texas, Ole Miss. Out of the ACC, Florida State, North Carolina State. The Big 12, BYU, Arizona, and Oklahoma is to add to this list as well now. Teams are opting out of spring football games. And you know what's happening? In this ever-changing world of NIL, factoring in the transfer portal, teams are poaching. They have an opportunity to watch a young man go out, have a successful spring, see the potential, and throw the bag at him. I mean, because you can go where you want once the semester ends in May. Transfer over into the summer, go and be a part of a program, get ready for fall camp, and boom, you're in a new program just that quick. Coaches are now trying to protect their asset, the asset now more than ever, the football player. It used to be the coach, because to the player, there was nothing more to offer than a scholarship and some behind-the-scene things that you really never wanted out in the public. So it made it a little easier to keep your asset, because it was like under-the-table business. It was deals that you did not want known in the public. You did it under the table. It was private. But the deals are wide open now. The deals are wide open, and kids are now having the ability and opportunity to go anywhere. And if you have a kid that is a star in the spring, have a breakout, showing, because guess what? What we've seen in the past, these spring games have become something huge in college football. They're on television. It's nothing in April to turn on to ESPN in Texas. Spring game is there. Alabama spring game is there. Clemson. And to watch a spring game. Now, myself personally, I never put much stock into a spring game. The spring game is for the fan. It's a glorified scrimmage. Anybody in the football world knows they've done that scrimmage at practice too many times leading up to it. It's just finally opened up to the public. And we're going to run some script plays. And guess what? We're not going to really show you much, because we know somebody's out there watching. And in today's world, there's a national television audience out there watching. On the smaller scale, let's bring it down to Southern, FCS. You may send a coach over there to watch it, right? A position coach. Hey, go see what Southern down there doing. Go on up to Alcorn and see what they got going on at the spring game. But it used to be more centered towards the plays that teams ran just to kind of get a base of who they were. And then you got an idea, okay, this guy. But now it is solely on the players. Everybody's wanting the next player. Everybody wants to poach. And if you have enough money in this day and age in college football, you can do as you please. Kids are not chasing the championships anymore like they were before. It was a world just 5 years ago where Nick Saban can walk in his house, hands full of championship rings, and say, son, you too could have one of these. The world we live in now, the kids don't give a damn about them championship rings on the hand. Coach, what that's going to do for me and my family? I like championships. I think we all want to be champions, but if there's a way where money can be involved, that you care less about that championship. You then begin to look at the ways that you can change your family's trajectory. Making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in the college football landscape that we live in today. So me personally, I'm okay with the notion of canceling the spring game. Not necessarily playing one. It's okay. Not a lot of fans show up to them anyway. Coaches aren't going to really show you much anyway. And if you want to keep your best asset, your best players it's best that you keep them away from any eyes of anybody from the opposing teams, conferences, and anywhere else. Because it can very well, as much as I'm painting this picture for you on the big scale in the FBS, imagine, let's just take the smaller scale. You have a kid who has a breakout spring and he catches the attention of somebody. Let alone a breakout year. We're seeing it in the conference around the SWAC where, let's just take a wide receiver from UAPB, Javonte Gibson, from Opelousas, Louisiana. Was not highly recruited out of high school. Went to the University of Arkansas, Monticello, a Division II program. He left that program and moved up to FCS Division I at UAPB, the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. FCS All-American, one of the top receivers in the country on that level, and guess where he is now? He's at Oklahoma. Oklahoma. He worked his way up from Division II all the way to playing now for FBS, big SEC, Oklahoma. Those are the type of things in which the game has evolved and changed these days. The big boys are noticing it quick, fast, and in a hurry. Just as soon as Ohio State won that national championship against Notre Dame, the phone calls started to roll in from teams all across the nation trying to poach their best players. You won a championship, or do you want to win this bag? Do you want some money? Do you want some money? And then the conversation turns over to when it's on our level, you know, you wanted those 4-year guys who you brought in as a freshman, you developed them. Like, I take a guy like a Danny Johnson. Danny Johnson came into Southern as a highly recruited kid from the mid-majors, the FCS, very talented kid. Comes into Southern and works his way up. Every year gets better, ultimately going on to play in the NFL for the Washington Commanders. But that was a kid who went through the process, developed, and got better, working out, waiting on his time, and experience got him where he needed to be, ultimately for most of these guys where they're looking at getting to the NFL. How often in the world today, because this was pre-COVID, this was pre-NIL, pre-transfer portal. How often will we see that in today's world where a kid comes in, is a 4-year guy? Well, that's the whole thing. Will you see him be a 4-year guy? He comes through the process, goes through the process, he gets to that point, and boom, here come the teams poaching. Here come Louisiana Tech. Here come Tulane. Here comes Southern Miss. That's just the smaller schools. He goes off. Okay, here come Texas Tech. Okay, LSU is giving a call. Ole Miss is calling. It is an interesting world that we live in today when it comes to college football, and you're starting to see the change across the landscape and why coaches are nervous to showcase talent. I think it was one of the issues that we had here at Southern with Coach Dooley when he was the head coach, and we were having the issues with the quarterback room. I honestly, in my whole heart, think he was not giving the quarterbacks opportunities to be seen, because you start to get film, you can then take that film and hit the transfer portal. Now that I look back at it, that's honestly, and it could be some stubbornness too, okay? It was some stubbornness in that. But with the quarterback room that he had, we saw all of those guys play last year. And what happened? They hit the portal. Xavier Tissett, Noah Biden. So you got to protect your asset these days. You have to play a smart game as a head coach these days. Because when you're looking at what you have and knowing that you may have a diamond in the rough, you have coached this guy up. You have developed this guy. You want to win championships with this guy, but then here come the big school and takes that guy away from you because they have the resources to be able to allocate to him and his family, in which you're limited resource. That's what we use. That's what we say on this level, particularly at HBCUs as well, limited resource institutions. Now it's starting to look like what used to be the JUCO league, right? JUCOs, the junior college leagues around the country, where that's where talent went. That's where talent went to be seen again. It was like hitting a restart button. I go to this JUCO to change it, to get you to realize, hey, I could be a part of your program. I've been over at East Mississippi Community College for a year. Okay, now Florida State's calling. All right, Georgia Tech's calling because they saw the landscape is changing. We headed in a new era, and we're there. It's all about how we're going to survive this new era. Kelby Givens was a kid we was hoping stayed at Southern after winning co-defensive player of the year, and you saw his talent. Like, hey, Kelby, please don't go nowhere, Kelby. We understand how good you are, but that's the type of things that'll happen when you start to get these players who have the type of seasons like a Kelby Givens, who is one of the best in the country on his level, and we're talking FCS. But then you see those other schools say, man, look, we can pack on a couple more pounds of muscle on this kid. We can get him in a great dietetic and nutrition program. We can take this kid to the next level to then be an asset for us. That's the poaching. And that's what makes it tough in this world today of college football and college athletics, period. Of being able to keep your prized possessions, your diamonds in the rough, those kids that you develop. And a lot of times now what I'm believing is what we're going to start seeing, a lack of development. Kids jumping here to there just trying to get playtime, and they missing the essential part of the development side of the game. You looking for playing time instead of looking to learn. You going out with raw talent, but you can be so much better if you sit somewhere and take the opportunity to be developed. But then I can say that, and I can't say that because I understand just as soon as you start playing football, talking about being developed, you have to be able to monetize yourself as best as possible, because everybody's not going to the NFL. The NFL, even if you get there, does not necessarily mean you're going to come in getting high dollar and you're going to have a longevity in terms of career. Most guys who do get into the NFL is over with by the time they're 23, 24 years old. Simple as that. It is a revolving door. Looking for your replacement each and every season, mid-season, before season, after season, it does not matter. So in today's world, it's, hey, you got to get it while you can, because when it's over, think about how many guys that we've seen in our lifetime who were tremendous college football athletes. Tremendous. Household names, and then you never heard of them again on the other side. And you think about if they were able to come up with the money in college football during those times, how much different lives would have been. Just take Reggie Bush. They took his whole Heisman. They since given it back. But think about the upside. I mean, Reggie Bush was the man in Los Angeles. He was the man across the country, one of the best running backs to ever grace the college football playing field. I take a guy like Vince Young for 2 straight years. Before there was a Cam Newton, let's go to Vince Young. The year that he beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl, what an amazing game that was. He took on a receiver. You remember the receiver, Braylon Edwards, who was a damn good receiver, best receiver in the country at Michigan. That Michigan team was pretty loaded. But Vince Young then comes back the next year against all odds. Shout out to my man, Coach Roger Kadar. That's his book, Against All Odds. But against all odds, against the USC team with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush, in today's day, in NIL, in the transfer portal, do you think you will have 2 Heisman Trophy winners on one team? Imagine the money that's pouring in saying, look, bruh, come on over here, all right? And then just think about what Vince Young did that year. That was so magical. That was a magical season to put that team on his back at Texas, who we know has a boatload of money. And trust me, Vince Young was taken care of. The old saying back in the day was when guys left college, you actually went to the NFL to take a pay cut for most of them. We understood what was going on, but what a hell of a season. And just imagine the monetary side of what that would have been to what he did to bring Texas a national championship, the way that he did for the entire nation, and seeing what I think is one of the best college football national championships ever played out in Pasadena, California for the Rose Bowl between USC and Texas. So that's the world that we live in today when I describe to you why teams are canceling their spring games. And will it trickle down? Will we start to see this even on Southern's level where we're saying, you know what, we're not going to do a spring game? Or do we still keep it towards the fan? Because spring game is really fan-oriented. You're really there just to watch a glorified scrimmage. They're not going to show you much. They're going to run through base plays. You're going to see a lot of rotating the guys in and out, just trying to get reps, just trying to get guys used to, hey, get in and let's see what you're going to do. I'll show you what I'm about to do. I'm about to take a break. Let's do that. And when I come back on the other side, we continue the conversation. If you want to call in and have a conversation with me, 225-499-1073 is the number, 225-499-1073. What do you think about it? All right, stay tuned. We'll be back. More to Jaguar Journal. It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
T.R. Ricks is a fifth-year senior who's getting his first chance to drive the train that Bob talked about. Then right now, he's driving it quite well because the Southern Jaguars are kicking butt in the SWAC conference. As Bob mentioned, 6-0 overall in the SWAC, and T.R. Ricks has played so well, over 2,000 yards passing. In the last 3 games running the football, he's been over 100 yards on the ground. The respect factor that he gets from his teammates is incredible. As a fifth-year senior who's never started, they elected him captain. And the numbers he has put up are represented on your screen. 27 total touchdowns on the offense, a pass percentage of nearly 60%. He could be the SWAC Player of the Year on the offensive side.
Best, and they're going to get a huge dose of the best offensive player in the SWAC, and that being Thomas Ricks.
Yeah, what Thomas Ricks has found a way to do is just beat defenses either with his arm, with his feet, or with his leadership capabilities, finding a way to win the games late with fourth quarter comebacks. He showed versatility and athleticism. He's a tremendous athlete that knows how to win, most importantly.
Really is a leader both on and off the field.
I just think it has come to a maturity level. I have a 4-year-old son, and, when he was born, I had to grow up fast, and, just staying in school and practicing every day, trying to get better every day, just so he can have a better future. It's just been my inspiration. So, I just think that's my motor that drives me and, keeps me in the game.
His 4-year-old son, Collier, has not missed a game this season. They throw the football around in Rick's dorm room at Southern, and he says it's great playing football with Collier. 1st and 10. Ricks. He's got Vernon. Vernon makes the catch at the 45.
They can run the entire offense with all those guys in the game.
Ricks to Vernon. 1st down. Holmes in the backfield. Ricks. 1st down. Gage on the tackle, but not until Ricks picks up the 1st down. 2nd and 7. Ricks. Overstreet's got it. Across midfield. Ricks. As a receiver downfield. It's caught for a touchdown. Territory. Ricks. Fakes the pitch. Gets inside the 15.
These are the type of young men that represent his philosophy in life and in football.
Ricks in a shotgun. He's going to run it out to the 10. And 2nd and 11 after the holding penalty. Sidearm toss.
All right, we're back. It's the Jaguar Journal. Good morning to everybody as we get things rocking and rolling. I'm talking about all types of things, but more important, let's go to the phone line right quick. We got Chuck on the phone. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning to you all, and good morning to the listening and viewing audience out there. I was just calling, just chiming what you were talking. First off, I'm going to tell you, when you all played in basketball, when you all played Cookman, you know what happened? I need to get you connected to Jerry Bell. He's the one that's creative, Hell Wildcats and all the other things. If you might want to get him on the show one day, he's the one that created all. He'd be a great person to talk to. And I'm about to get to. You were just talking about what's going on now in today's college athletics, and we say you're not going to have Nick Saban showing off the rings anymore. It's about how can I get paid? That's why now I know it's not HBCU related, but at the University of North Carolina recently they just hired a general manager for the University of North Carolina men's basketball, Jim Tanner, black guy. He's an alumnus of UNC. And also he's a known sports agent. He's represented many like Tim Duncan and Tamika Catchings and many others. I think he represented Grant Hill, if I stand corrected. But they have him as general manager because in football they have Mike Lombardi for football. Bill Belichick being the head coach there. But this is where it is now, and I think they have seen what had happened over at Duke at their rival. Rachel Baker is the Duke men's general manager, and that's taken a lot off of John Shire as head coach. And this is where it is now. You don't have people develop. I think that's why Krzyzewski got out of there because he realized he can't go and just develop guys anymore. And that's what coaches are getting out of it. Like you've been saying, they're not developing now. It's about chasing the money.
What's your thoughts about the spring game?
The spring game, to tell you the truth about the spring, that's a great question. What's going on with spring games now? I see it more as just a great gathering of have tailgate. People go out and give them a chance to tailgate again before the fall, and also give the players a chance to communicate with the supporters. They might have autograph signings or anything of that caliber going on. People getting together, just a nice gathering before the fall. It's in the spring, but just to have give you a feel of being there in the fall. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I'm as I began to look at it, Chuck, I'm okay with canceling the spring game.
Yeah.
Me personally, you want to protect your asset.
Exactly.
Let's take Southern, for example, like Kelby Givens. He's coming back. He's still on the roster.
He's still on the roster.
He's a
co-SWAC
Defensive Player of the Year. He goes into the spring. You fool around and listen, whether you open it up for the public or not, it's still the idea is out in the open. What you do behind closed doors and closed practices means a whole world of a difference. But I get it why on the big level, because they have now created such a spectacle out of their spring games that is nationally televised. Now, Southern spring game is not nationally televised, but they do stream it. So I guess in essence, you can watch it anywhere. Anybody can go back and watch it. But you would be afraid that a guy has that type of season, comes into the spring, you think you got him, shows out in the spring because you still see his ability to upside getting better, and then boom, he takes off and leaves the program after the semester.
You hit it right. You right on the head, man. That's what ended up happening. You don't want to show. I think that's what's happening. Like they want to show a lot, like Matt Rule at University of Nebraska, and these University of Southern California not having I know Lincoln Riley. The way they've been looking at, I'm like, you don't have much to show there. I know you just living off that University of Southern California name. But it's kind of, for example, just like I look at Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, the way he's showing out for them, and you're right, and you made a great point there, because what happened, Jeremiah Smith could show out in the spring game before you know it, he might be going to one of the other schools. This is what is happening now. Like they're saying, hey, look, let's see if we can get him over here. You might try to get him over to that school that they call that school up north. Their rival school might end up in Michigan. Things like that do occur.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chuck, for the call, man. I appreciate you. I got somebody else on the line, man. As always, Chuck, thank you, man.
Always great conversing with you all. You all have a great weekend.
All right. Let's go to the next caller. We got Chris on the line. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, how's it going, Pierre? How you doing?
Doing good, man. It's been a long time. Happy Mardi Gras since I ain't talked to you doing Mardi Gras.
Yeah, well, I'm from Northeast Louisiana, so, I kind of take Mardi Gras with a grain of salt. I had a coworker one time came back in on Ash Wednesday, and we were sitting down, and I said, hey, man, you got some dirt on your head. Let me wipe it off.
Oh, God.
That's how much I know about it. But anyway, getting back to what you're saying, let me tell you something, Perry.
Mm-hmm.
What you have now with the transport portal is you're going to have the idea of who's lazy and who's not. I mean, you just look at this. You look at all the players out here that's in the portal and everything like that.
And, Chris, let me ask you something real quick. You say who's lazy and who's not. You talking about from the coaching or from the players?
From the coaching.
Okay.
From the coaching staff. And I'm going to make a few points about it. When you look at the plethora of players that you got, and you get, and especially on our level, the opportunity is there for you to be able to get and replace, whether they stay there or not, whether they do anything or not. You have the opportunity to put together different programs and not necessarily worry so much about losing so many players and whatever. It's kind of like a pastor worrying about his biggest tithe payers going to another church. If you have faith in God, God will send one person in there to pay everything you got. You have to have that type of mentality as a coaching staff to where the system that we have in place is just a matter of us plugging and playing. And we've never had, especially on our level, the number of athletes to choose from. For instance, Prairie View new coach, Jermaine Jackson, which is going to be trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he said, Prairie View should be the #1 FCS school in the state of Texas. When you look at Prairie View's campus facilities and what they have to offer, there's no way in the world they should have been getting beat like they did. Houston Baptist, which used to be Houston Christian, only got a stadium with one side of fans on it. And they came in there and beat Prairie View brains out. That doesn't make sense. Incarnate Word, they don't have the facilities that Prairie View has. So Tremaine Jackson is already seeing that. Then you look at Bethune-Cookman, and you look at what Coach Wood is doing. How you losing guys from Florida to UT Martin, and UT Martin ain't nothing but the country, and you got Daytona Beach. You hear what I'm saying? You got Daytona Beach, and you losing guys in your state, not only losing guys in your state, which is an atrocity in itself, but you losing guys going to these other places that don't offer anything. And believe it or not, all these schools like UT Martin and all these places, they not throwing out no bunch of NIL money.
Well, think about it here in the state of Louisiana. How many guys do we miss out at Southern to Louisiana Tech, ULM, and UL?
Well, and, you know, I used to be staunch about it, but, you know, as you grow and get older, you understand certain things. You've been down here, Prairie. In our city, these kids are under a lot of pressure in Baton Rouge. I don't blame a kid for getting out of Baton Rouge. I really don't. A lot of the problems that they have to deal with, a lot of the things that go on behind the scene and stuff like that, some of these kids have to get out of Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I understand that because, you know, when you look at some of the athletes like the Francis kid from Glen Oak, he out there in USC right there by Compton, but he come back home and get killed. You know what I'm saying?
I look at it the same way, Chris. It was like my boy Skelton, Ladarius Skelton, Pine Bluff. He needed to get out of Pine Bluff. You know, as Memphis people wanted him to be the hometown hero at UAPB, that environment just was not conducive to his growth.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, you have all of these different scenarios and everything like that. And then a lot of these guys have pressure. And, you know, some of them just, and you know, the money is involved. Okay, so whenever you got money, all right, whenever you got money involved, like Coach Bumpy Griffin told me a long time, money beat poor every time. But you have an opportunity, and this is what I see Coach Graves is doing. You know, I look at the different social media shows and stuff, and they would talk about our recruiting class was all right, but it just didn't reach out at you. But what I'm seeing Coach Graves doing is taking advantage of the opportunity that presents itself. And I'll give you a case in point. When was the last time we got Sportsline 9 Player of the Year commit to Southern? Out of 9 different candidates, this guy was the Sportsline 9 High School Player of the Year, and he committed to us. You know, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of these boys we get, like the quarterback for Buck. A lot of these boys we getting and everything like that is because the high school boys by some schools aren't even really being recruited that hard because they're trying to play the game with the transport portal.
And that's the part what I'm talking about, how it all works. You take the risk with the high school guy, right? Because the other schools are playing with the transfer portal. He comes into your program in 2 years. He's now on the radar of the big guys where they didn't want him out of high school. You took the chance. You developing him up. Then they come in and poach him, and while you did the work to poach him.
But to see, that's just the process of developing and elevating. See, that's gonna happen. Take ULM for instance. They had this freshman running back, everything. The coach at ULM said, "I know we're not gonna keep it." And I forgot what FBS school major Power 5 school he went to, but he did. But those are things that you have to be expecting. So that's the reason why you can't be lazy. You got to be able to recruit, and you got to be steady stacking up. Because you know a guy that we just blessed based upon the fact Kelby hadn't gone anywhere, But
and Jordan Lewis was almost in that same situation. I mean, when he won FCS Defensive Player of the Year, the Buck Buchanan Award, he threw his name in the transfer portal, and they was able to talk him back. But that's where we're at with this. It's like when the guy has that season and we're looking to bring him back to hopefully go to a championship with him, we're crossing our fingers. It's what it was. Just when football season was over, people were nervous, like, man, can we keep some of these guys, especially like a Kelby Givens on the team? It turns into a nervous factor where 5-6 years ago, we weren't nervous about that. We knew to go to the next level, teams really wasn't going to waste their time. And I say waste their time. It's like they wasn't poaching on the small level when I consider what we are FCS. FCS was doing more poaching on their level. Like the Sam Houston, the Jacksonville States, the tide was turned. Right. They were the ones going to the big schools and taking their players and bringing them down saying, hey, you ain't getting no PT there. Come play here. Now it's the other way around. They're poaching from our school saying, hey, you getting PT there, but come get more and be better and get more money. We're here with us.
But the flip side of it, you just said it, O'Perry, but you still getting those guys that went to those schools that want to come back to our schools and play.
Yeah.
You still, that comes back to my original statement, is that you finna find out who's lazy and who's not. You see what I'm saying? You look at the Rattlers in their quarterback situation. They've been able to always go and get that FBS quarterback to come in and play for them, in spite of the players you might lose or whatever. And then when you build a culture, and it goes back to the thing that I always told you about, just like with North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and all of those schools, they got the same problem, but they got a system, no, Perry.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody poaching them a whole lot. You get a few guys from North Dakota State that, like one of the linebackers they had that year that came to LSU, but by and large, they not losing a lot of guys, because most of the guys that they got not big, and they playing because you see them in the league. But the bottom line is they have a system in place.
I just want their trenches. I'll take their O-line and D-line any day, all day.
You see what I'm saying? And then, but you don't see, but see, because of that situation, but you don't see a lot of Power 5 rating. One of the kids that's on my team professionally, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mason McCormick, 4-year starter at South Dakota State. He had the opportunity to go to another school, a big school, but he stayed there. And so what you have is you have to have a culture set up. One of the things about our recruiting class, like Coach Graves said, 7 or 8 of our recruits were state champions. Those are the type of kids you bring in. Now, that might not mean a whole lot, but they know what it takes to be a winner. And I believe, I really do, it's just like with Coach Graves, I believe that he's going to be able to establish a culture that's going to be able to keep us competitive. Because, let's face it, Perry, Jackson is doing an outstanding job in recruiting. And they lost, the TC had to replace I don't know how many players when he took over that first year. But you look at this last recruiting class, Jackson State is doing what they need to be doing. They're not worried about who leaving and who not transferring out and stuff, and they still getting it. It's got to do with your coaching style, Perry. You finna find out who's lazy and who's not. And when you find out, team, you know, just like your up there at your hometown, Coach Hampton, all right, he, you know, I feel his pain. I got a top quarterback. I got a top wide receiver. Now I got to come back over again. But then again, on the flip side, you got a son that goes to Clips. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, that could be looked at like, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You want my boy to come there, but your boy going here. And so, you know, those are probably things that you do with. But I believe it's got a lot to do with the school and the culture that you build. We get back to winning championships at Southern, I don't think we'll ever run into a problem to where we won't be able to find athletes. We've always been able to find athletes, Barry.
Yep.
We've always been able to find athletes.
I'm up against a break here, Chris.
Okay.
A hard break,
right,
man. I appreciate you for the call. Listen, don't be a stranger, man. I got to talk football to pull you out.
No, well, you know, I'm on basketball. I'm on basketball, too.
Well, I got something special for you if you stick around basketball, because basketball is coming up at the top of the hour. Mike counted me down. Chris, man, appreciate you for the call, man. As always, man, it's good to hear you, man.
Great to hear you, too, Perry.
Let's get ready to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We are at the top of the hour. We'll be back on the other side. We're going to talk some basketball, Southern men and women. It's the Jaguar Journal.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
Talk about offense, we talk about Southern, and it begins with their passing game.
Tom, beyond potent, we're talking about high octane, we're talking about fast break, we're talking about 41 points a game, some 500-plus yards since Terrence Levy has taken over this offense.
Because that young man doesn't drop any ball.
With the legacy that you started here, you got to feel happy to see it continue on with Doug Williams.
Ball now back at the 22-yard line. Levy, no pressure at all. Touchdown, Ingram. The Bayou Classic. Levy on a first and goal play. Throws a touchdown. Grambling comes with a blitz. Levy steps in the pocket, and his pass is caught. One-handed grab.
Sort of in the middle of the road of the SWAC, but immediately they jump on the Jackson State defense. And here's Levy rolling out. And the pass is caught. Ball is at the 31-yard line. Again throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver Hayes makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. If you're going to get, I got some free tickets. Look out for it, brother. Going downfield. Oh, and what a play by Southern.
Score. He's played a lot tougher ever since. And this is a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
pass.
It's
a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside the 10, the 5. Unbelievable. Quarter with Jackson State leading 10-3. Ball is at the 31-yard line. Again throwing the football downfield. Oh, and his receiver Hayes makes the catch. See you later. Touchdown, Southern. And every time you think Southern struggles, they come back, they make a play. They've done it all year long. Kick is up. Kick is good. 2nd down and a yard to go. Again, they give it to Lewis. Lewis finds room. Lewis still on his feet. Lewis making the move to the outside. He's inside the 25, the 10, the 5. What a run by Ryan Lewis. 69-yard run for Ryan Lewis. And how about this? Kicks up, kicks good. Halftime, George Johnson along with Charles Mann. Southern trailed in this football game 10-7. Then they reel off 14 straight points, and they do it with the big plays.
And that's something that we didn't think would happen, at least from Southern's perspective. They've been able to methodically go down the field on people and win ball games, not the big plays. You saw the big play by Ryan Lewis running 69 yards, the nice throw by Terrence Levy. This is something that I don't think Jackson State thought they would see in Southern either, and they go into halftime down by 7 points.
Jackson State came in the best defense out of the SWAC. And if you take a look at the highlights, you will see that this club, and I'm talking about Southern, was really able to capitalize on a couple of miscues, and the big plays are the result of it.
And this is Daniel Guy with a nice stiff arm to Bradley Pittman there. And he runs that ball 36 yards inside for a touchdown and makes it 7-3. And then Terrence Levy, quarterbacking, throws a big bomb to Michael Hayes, who gets by Rashard Anderson and waltzes into the end zone for a 69-yard reception. And then the big run by Ryan Lewis, a scat back for Southern, races 69 yards for the score. And that's where it stands right now, 17-10. Southern is on top.
Passing leaders in the conference, Lionel Hayes from Grambling, your top passer. Washington second, but he's intercepted right there. This time the inside handoff,
and the ball was dropped, and
Tommy Head. Here's Taylor in the pocket, looking downfield and looking for Leroy Fields, and this one looks intercepted, and it is.
He's played a lot tougher ever since. And this is a free play for Southern.
2nd and 15.
It's a free play.
Levy completes his
It's
pass.
a free play.
Oh, and he's still up.
It's a free play.
Hayes is going to continue running inside the 10, the 5. Unbelievable Michael Hayes. Hayes now with 187 yards receiving. 169-yard touchdown, 181-yard touchdown.
And Southern's came up with all the big plays.
They lead by 14. And that one is intercepted by Darden. Darden looking for some room, and Guyan will finally drag him down. But we start the 4th right after this. 2nd down and 20 after the penalty.
Oh, he's got a man wide open.
Going into the corner. Touchdown! Reynolds attempting the point after. It's good. A 32-yard field goal. Kick is up. Kick is good.
This is a great football game.
We knew it would be, though. Torrey Thigpen got us out of our seats.
And this is the punt return by Torrey Thigpen. We were just talking about we haven't seen him. He breaks 2 tackles and runs up the sideline. He has great blocking, but gets pushed out of bounds on about the 1-yard line.
And touchdown Jackson State.
The game is a game of momentum swings. Snap is good. The kick is up.
On driver. Yes, sir.
The ball up to the big receiver, Michael Hayes. There he goes.
Hayes makes the catch. Hayes still on his feet. Hayes looking for blocking. Hayes trying to find a hole. Hayes is still on his feet. He alley-oops. He's inside the 15 and drawn out of bounds at the 10-yard line. An I formation. Oh! Fumble Levy. He kicks it and falls on top of it.
Touchdown. Receiver that has not seen much action comes up big.
1st and 10. Washington over the middle.
All right, we're back. It is the Jaguar Journal. We're at the top of the hour, 8:02 a.m. Good morning to everybody out there in the Baton Rouge capital city area. Listen to us on radio on 107.3 FM. Glad to have you guys with us. And everybody listening around the country, because we get people all over the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast to the Midwest to the North to the South, all over, who watch us on our YouTube channel. Be sure to go hit that subscribe button, and on our Facebook Live across the various groups and pages on Facebook. Be sure to hit that like and follow. And good morning to everybody that's listening. We're talking SWAC basketball because, listen, today is the last day of the regular season. We're heading into the SWAC tournament next week, but I'm talking to the man right here because how things have changed as SWAC basketball players reach the final week, the final game, and nobody better to talk about on the women's side about SWAC women's basketball than my man, Coach Carlos Funches, the head coach of Southern University women's basketball. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Perry.
Good to have you on, man. Things have changed. Remember, a couple weeks ago, we were talking Texas Southern was coming in town. They were 10-0. It seemed like it was basically them. You and I had talked about the first time you went over to Texas in that opening week in SWAC play. Had a lead in the third quarter. Kind of let it get away from you in the fourth quarter. Texas Southern wins. Since then, your team has turned it around. You guys at the top of the SWAC standings on the women's side, and you wrap up the regular season as the SWAC regular season champions. Today is going to be a tough one with Alabama A&M coach Don Thornton. We all have seen the viral sensation in Coach Thornton because of the way she shows up, right? She has her certain style that she brings to the game. And I got some questions to you, Coach, about some style, right? But before we get there, let's look back into last week's game. You guys had to take on Bethune-Cookman on Saturday, right? I got a chance to talk to you about the Florida A&M game. But Bethune-Cookman, you got the victory at FAMU, and that was a crazy one. Let's just go back there. You know what? Let's go back to FAMU. That was a crazy game at the end. Walk us through it, Coach.
It was. I knew it was going to be tight. You know, you're playing them over there, and they always play well at home. They had beaten several really good teams over there at that place, and they lost some close games. But from a talent standpoint, they are as talented as anybody in the league. They just hadn't been able to get any breaks. But we were down 10 going into the fourth quarter. Executed pretty well the first and second quarter, but we just didn't hit shots. And I felt like that we were going to get a little hot somewhere down the stretch. We made a run in that fourth quarter, and early within the first 2 or 3 minutes, we cut it down to about 5 or 6 points. And from that point on, it was back and forth. But the ending was kind of crazy. We came down. We got fouled shooting a three that had a chance to take the lead with 7, 8 seconds to go in the game, and made 2 out of 3 to tie the game up. They called a timeout with 3 seconds to go. We were defending them in the half court, and Jocelyn Tate, who is a great defender, I mean, one of the top 1 or 2 defenders here in this league on the perimeter. She gets a steal on a breakaway, and young lady reaches out and grabs her. She didn't want to give up a layup, but I don't know if we had time to make a layup. That was a tie game, and we went to the line and made both free throws and got away with the victory. You know, you're going to have to win games like that sometimes.
Woo! Don't stress me out. Because that's all right, man.
That was a tough one.
Huh?
That was a tough one there. I mean, but we stayed the course, kept executing, and took good shots, and eventually some of them started to fall. And, you know, you have to make your own luck sometimes.
You know, as you talk about make your own luck, it started with Texas Southern and really before that. But you guys, when I saw us get over the hump and get Texas Southern, who had came into that game, 10-game winning streak, the top of the SWAC, and then they lost to Southern, then they lost to Grambling, they kind of unraveled. Then you guys seemed like to pick up the slack. You took it on and carried it all the way through the end, right? Now we're talking, you had an opportunity to take on Bethune-Cookman. You went to Daytona. You got a 62-54 victory over Bethune-Cookman. We look back at that ball game. You guys shot 19 of 45 for 42%, 5 of 19 from the three-point line, Coach, shooting 26%, and 19 of 26 from the free throw line, shooting 73%. On the other side for Bethune-Cookman women's basketball, the Wildcats shot 17 of 55 for 30%. Tough day shooting the three. They only made 1 3, 1 of 8 for 12%, and they were 19 of 26 for 73% shooting. Both teams wasn't what from the free throw. When you look at your team on the road in this conference, such a long road game to Florida A&M and Bethune, Tallahassee, Daytona Beach, you got to keep your team locked in. Is that correct?
That's correct, Perry. I mean, it's tough on the road anywhere here in the league. So when you go in, you have to be mentally prepared and have to execute, again, on both ends of the court. That's what it comes down to, doing the little things correctly and making your free throws and trying to keep them off the free throw line. So, you know, you want to keep that momentum going like we did on the road, winning 2 games. So roll right back in here at home and got a good win Thursday against Bama State. So hopefully we can keep it going today.
Big win against Bama State, 61-38 in that ball game. You guys shot 24 of 55 for 43%, 4 of 15 from the three-point line, shooting 26%, and 9 of 15 from the free throw line, shooting 60%. On the other side, for Alabama State. 11 of 42 shooting on the day for 26%, 4 of 10 from the three-point line for 40%, and 12 of 16 from the free throw line shooting 75%. As you come down the stretch, you get the accolades. How do you keep the team still locked in, even knowing that you have the accolades to follow?
Well, we kind of divide our season into 3 different parts. The pre-conference, before we start the league, we're trying to get better, looking at different combinations and things like that. When we hit that conference, of course, we pretty much have our rotations down and see who plays well with each other and what lineups we need to put in at what time. So, continue to try to build and get better and keep executing on both ends of the court. And then you have your postseason. So right now, we had that check mark as far as the conference season is right now. But we took care of business. So, got that regular season championship. But you want to have that momentum going into the tournament. So today is going to be a big game, keeping that momentum going as we get ready to kick it off on Wednesday.
And things could have been a lot different for today's game. Alabama A&M loses at Grambling, but if they did not lose, today's game was going to come down basically, hey, who wants the championship for the regular season? But you look at Alabama A&M, Coach Dawn Thornton in her first year coming over from Pine Bluff. You know her oh so well. You beat her in the SWAC championship when she was at Pine Bluff. You guys got hot, beat Jackson State, and found your way in the championship and got past a really good UAPB women's basketball team that year. 9-1 at home this year, Coach, that the Jaguars on the women's side are. You guys in your last 10 games are 9-1, averaging 62 points a game, 31 rebounds, 12 assists, 11 steals, and 3 blocks. On the other side for Alabama A&M, 8-2 in their last 10 games, averaging 67 points a game, 27 rebounds, 9 assists, 10 steals, 2 blocks. When you look at them and you look at the point differential, right? You guys averaging 62 points. They're averaging 5 more points than you guys at 67. What do you see offensively from Alabama A&M that could pose a threat, and why they're one of the top teams in the conference along with you guys?
Well, they have terrific balance. They have Wilson inside. I mean, she's one of the most athletic players, not just in the SWAC, but in the country. I mean, she can jump up and grab the rim with both hands.
Yeah.
I mean, she poses a threat, getting offensive rebounds and scoring on the block. They have some terrific shooters. Walker, who came over from Pine Bluff with Coach Thornton, I mean, she can shoot the basketball. She's capable of getting 25 or 30 any given night. They have another transfer, the Pendleton young lady who came in from Arkansas State. She averaged about 14 points a game in the Sun Belt, and she's doing the same thing here in the SWAC. So they have terrific balance. They have a couple of more kids that come in off the bench that can really play. And she has quality depth. I mean, she can go 10 deep, and there's no drop-off. So, just that balance on the offensive side for them always poses a threat.
What has been the recipe for success for you at Southern, and more importantly, this season? What just seems to click for you guys when it's time to get it going?
Well, you just try to continue to get better each and every game going down the stretch. You look at what you didn't do well, and you go back and try to correct those mistakes. Sometimes it might be put in a different drill, just to help us with certain aspects of the game. But, again, it's all the little things that helps you develop into be a champion. So it's not just, you go out and put this offense in and you run that every time. I have to tweak things as coaches. We have to use different personnel when we're doing different things. So, it's a variety of things that can affect winning or losing.
Let's look at the SWAC standings at this point from the bottom all the way to the top. SWAC conference tournament starts next week. Today is the last day of the regular season. UAPB at the bottom, 1-16 in conference play. Bama State, Thursday's opponent for UAPB. For the Jaguars. We got it done. They're 4-13. Valley, 5-12. I think Valley might be trying to fight for a spot into the tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, I mean, they are a tough team, especially at home. They have a lot of guards that can shoot the basketball. I mean, they beat Alcorn twice this year. So anybody can beat you any given night.
That's
so
right.
You have to be ready to play.
Got to be ready to play. The next 3 teams all tied with 6-11 records. You talked about that FAMU team just looking to get over the hump. Sandy Pugh and Prairie View, and then Bethune-Cookman all at 6-11. That Alcorn team, they're just in the middle of the pack. But once again, anybody can get beat any given night. They are a sneaky team, came into Baton Rouge and upset us. They're 9-8 in conference play, a team to watch out in the conference tournament. Then you have Grambling, who have gotten things back on track, 11-6 in conference play. Alabama A&M, Texas Southern, and Jackson State all right there tied at 13-4, 2 games out of first place. Then it's Southern University at the top of the mountain at 15-2. Big matchup today between Southern, Alabama A&M. I'm telling you, if you want to see some great women's basketball, you want to show up today. When you look, and this is what I'm going to end it with, Coach, the fashion statement, right? I know, yeah, you're a little different, right? Because you're more cool than you worried about the style. Coach Don Thornton, all about the style. You going to break out anything out the closet on us today, Coach?
Well, you know, it's going to be senior day, so I'm going to go with the traditional button down and a suit jacket. So nothing real flashy,
I didn't know if you was going to pull an Eric Dooley on us today.
No. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it simple and go out and you know, we're going to be blue collar and work hard and try to get this win.
Yes, sir, man. Coach, I appreciate you, man. Good luck to you guys today. I'll be there. And everybody else, if you're in Baton Rouge or the surrounding area, should be there. 2 o'clock tip-off today between Alabama A&M, Southern University, last game of the regular season. Coach Don Thornton versus Coach Carlos Funches. Both these coaches have played each other in a championship game before. And today, with Alabama A&M where they are tied in second place. Going to be one hell of a basketball game as we cheer the Jaguars on. They are your SWAC regular season champions as they head into the SWAC tournament next week. Congratulations to you and the team, Coach.
Thank you, and everybody come on out. We need the support. It's going to be a big game for not just us, but also the men's team. So we need to get that support out here.
Yes, sir. All right, let's get ready to take a break. Thank you, Coach Funches.
Thank you. Y'all take care.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back on this side, we have my man, Coach Kevin Johnson. We're going to talk some men's basketball on Southern because it's going to get crucial down this stretch. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back. More of the Jaguar Journal.
Student athlete of this week is Quincy Richard. He's a grad student majoring in secondary education and a 3.4 GPA. He is 15-2 as a starter at Southern since coming there from Opelousas, Louisiana.
Quincy Richard is the quarterback. And Don, this is a man who's really changed his game from last season, and he's a graduate student as well.
Yes, he has, Bob. Quincy Richard has matured into the unquestioned leader of this Southern University offensive attack. 10 wins this season, and he set school marks for passing yards and touchdown passes. And Bobby's had a lot of help. Only 5 sacks on the season.
He earned his undergraduate degree back in August. He's taking some master's classes, and he wants to be a lawyer.
The offensive player of the year in the Southwestern Athletic Conference, quarterback Quincy Richard of Southern University.
And Quincy Richard did everything that Coach Pete Richardson asked him to do. He exceeded it. He had the best season as a quarterback in Southern University history. In their history, he's played phenomenally all year long. He's got a quick release, a strong arm, and more importantly, he's a senior and he's got that leadership.
Here's Richard looking in the end zone. Has a man there. Touchdown, Southern University.
Play clock down to 3. Richard gets it off over the middle. Touchdown!
Holmes goes in motion and comes set on a 1st and 10. Richard completes it. That's Ard. Ard down the sideline. He could go. And finally pushed out of bounds. Richard's run for 10 touchdowns this season. He's going to keep it. Richard goes in. Make it 11 for Quincy Richard. Richard wide open. Touchdown, Chris Davis. Oh, does he love playing football even more now?
That in the flag against Grambling, holding on the kickoff.
Richard looking deep, and it's a touchdown.
But only 3 times did he go down. Twice he ran out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage. It goes down as a sack.
2nd and 8. The deep ball, and that's our man, Chris Davis, for the touchdown. Time for today's State Farm Players of the Game. And from Southern University, the quarterback, number 15, Quincy Richard, 34 of 42, 552 yards, 5 touchdown passes.
Quincy, on behalf of State Farm Insurance Companies, I want to present you with a trophy for the most outstanding player today. Congratulations.
position with 6:10 to go. And here
All right, we're back. Good morning to everybody. I'm Perry White. It's the Jaguar Journal. Everybody listening on 107.3 FM across the Baton Rouge capital city area. And everybody watching on our YouTube and Facebook lives across the country, good morning to you guys. Great show in store and a great guest right here because he's no stranger to the show. He's the head men's basketball coach over at Southern University. My man, Coach Kevin Johnson, also known as Coach KJ. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us, man. Listen, we're going to dive right into it. The last 3 games for Southern, my God, have been tough. You guys have lost 3 games in conference play, all by a combined 3 points. And that is just wild when you look at how tough these games have been. And let's go back to last week because I talk about this Bethune-Cookman team and their coach, Reggie Theus, man. This is, to me, when it comes to you and Coach Theus, that's the new rivalry in the SWAC. I can depend and expect a hell of a game every single time Southern and Bethune-Cookman, Coach Kevin Johnson versus Coach Reggie Theus, man. Y'all give us some of the most magical endings to a game, and unfortunately, we were on the bad end of it this time over in Daytona Beach. 70-69, Coach Bethune-Cookman snuck one out on us at home over in Daytona. Walk us towards the end of that game, how things unfolded.
Well, we battled. Very entertaining game, battle, like you said, and I thought when we got in the second half, late in the second half, we finally got that game going in our direction and had a lead, and we didn't finish it off. Poor execution down the stretch, and we had some defensive breakdowns, and sometimes that happens. But no question, a tough ball game, and we came up on the short side, but I tell you, man, our guys are resilient. They turn that around and go right to FAMU in another tough ball game and get on top of it. And that one, we finished the way we need to. But, all over the country, Perry, right now, that's what conference games are. It doesn't matter about what place the team is in. These games are close. And I don't think it'll be any different here today.
No, it's not. You guys get the victory 73-70. And a close one at Florida A&M. And then Thursday night, a heartbreaker. Listen, Coach, I walked away. I was just – you guys went on a run at the end. Listen, and it just – that 1 point, once again to Alabama State, the only team to get the sweep on Southern this year, the only team to beat Southern at home this year. And once again, we lost to them in Montgomery by 1 point. We lost to them here in Baton Rouge by 1 point, 66-65. Looking at Bama State and looking at both ways, we've lost to them twice by a combined 2 points. What is it about that Bama State team seems to be with the matchup with us this year?
I don't think it's about Alabama State, to be honest with you. I think it's about us. I know when we got beat in Montgomery, that was probably our worst defensive performance of the year. And then the other night at home, we didn't defend them in the first half. They shot 50% from the field and 50% from three. And I told the guys at halftime, when you give up that kind of efficiency, it's very difficult to win the game. But, again, we battled back in the second half. And, even being down 10 with just over 3 minutes to go, we're able to come back and take that lead. And unfortunately, there was a, questionable call at the end. I've watched it a billion times. I still didn't see a foul. But
you saw what I saw.
Sometimes the ball bounces that way.
You saw what I saw because I was right there as he called it. And I looked at the ring. He told me to sit down. I sat down. I didn't want – look, as you say, I didn't want to cause no text or nothing. But I saw what I believe you've been watching a billion times on film. I'm like, hey, you got to let that play through, ref. I mean, I think they called that foul on Brente Noel, and it was just like, come on, ref. Just let that fall through. That has to just be played out. But nonetheless, Bama State hits both free throws, give us the ball with about a second maybe. Throw it down court. Unfortunately, a 1 point loss to Bama State. Move past that. Got to be heartbreaking. What was that when you talk to your team? What was the locker room like after that one? Was it a reality check time?
I don't know about a reality check. I'm going to tell you what kind of players we have and what kind of young men we have. They know they didn't play their best, but nevertheless, that last foul, Andre Nunley was a secondary defender. And so Brente Noel was the primary, and they called the foul on the secondary defender. So wasn't real happy about that. But several of the guys text me that night after the game. I give an example. Derek Tisno, Coach, I wasn't my best. How can I be better next game? Andre Nunley, Coach, don't give up on me. I promise you I'll be better next game. And those two guys are our most experienced players and our leaders. So, I don't want to dwell on what happened there. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, and it's all about moving on. And I want to take this time to say this, Perry. This has been a long journey, and today is the end of the regular season. And you look at coming into this year, we had the 13th toughest schedule in the country. There's 361 Division I schools that play basketball. We had the 13th toughest schedule, and we come through the non-conference in really good shape, which teams in our league don't really do. A lot of our teams don't even win a game until they get to league play, but we get through in really good shape. And think about this. We have led this conference from start to finish. Regardless of what happens today, we have led from the opening conference game to the end to finish. And so I'm so proud of these guys for what they've accomplished. And, man, I'm looking forward to the next step, but we got to take care of business today.
Senior Day, what seniors are going to play their last home game here at the F.G. Clark Activity Center, affectionately known as the Mini Dome?
Well, we have 5 seniors, but there's only 2 of them that have exhausted their eligibility after this year. Derek Tisano from Melville, Louisiana. I've been knowing Derek since he's been in the 9th grade and watched him play throughout high school and was very fortunate to get him out of the portal when I took this job. So we're going to miss him. I want him to go out with a bang. And then the other senior that won't have any more eligibility is Andre Nunley, who has been a defensive catalyst for us this year, number 9. He's not very tall in stature, but his heart is a million miles wide. And, boy, we're going to miss those 2 guys. But I'd love to see them go out with a bang.
Man, you are creating something special with the culture that you have at Southern. Let's look at the standings as we end the regular season today with Alabama A&M, who's going to be today's opponent. Mississippi Valley at the bottom of the conference, 1-16 above them. Pine Bluff 3-14 in conference play. Prairie View 4-13 in conference play. Alabama A&M, who's today's opponent, 6-11 in conference play. Grambling 7-10 in conference play. Alcorn State 10-7, along tied with Florida A&M. Then you have 2 teams at Alabama State and Texas Southern, both tied at 11-6 in conference play. Bethune-Cookman 12-5, Jackson State 13-4, Southern University at the top of the ladder at 14-3. Once again, those 3 losses, ladies and gentlemen, all by a combined 3 points. 2 to Alabama State, once to Bethune-Cookman. As you guys get ready, Coach, for SWAC tournament, it's going to be big next week. Like we said, anybody can get beat any given night in this league. And you got a whole list of teams right now, starting with Alcorn all the way up, that can give anybody a run for their money in this conference.
You got about 6 or 7 teams that could win this tournament. And, that's why we play the regular season and fight so hard, because we want the best seeding. And a lot of times what it comes down to this year is, who's fresh and, who gets the most rest. And I think we've been fortunate this year to be able to platoon sub to kind of save some guys. And boy, I was happy in practice yesterday. We lose a tough 1-point ball game, but our guys seem to have fresh legs. And I told the staff, I said, man, that's powerful, because you don't have a lot of teams that have that this time of year.
You looking at Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, Texas Southern, Bama State, Florida A&M, Alcorn. I mean, all of these teams, this is some of the best basketball I think I've seen in the SWAC in quite some time, where you normally see 1 or 2 teams who kind of dominate the league, and then it's kind of everybody else falling into that far second place. But this year, there is no far second place. You got to be ready to play each and every night when it comes to the SWAC. The overall basketball has improved.
There is no doubt about it. And, look at every program, the quality of the coaching in this league. I mean, you have to prepare every night in this league, and then look at the talent level. There's guys in this league that are going to have some opportunities to play after college, and that's what you want. But I don't look at the SWAC. A lot of folks out there say you're in a low major league, you're in a 1-bid league. Look, let me tell you something. This is a mid-major league to the fullest. And with that.
I'm looking at it out there. How do you get your team prepared just mentally for next week? Because do you break it into seasons? Like, okay, here we go, whole nother season next week.
You know what? We're going to talk about it, but Perry, my philosophy is we take one game at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about the tournament with our staff in terms of planning because we need some logistics. Got to have hotel, got to have travel, things like that. But with the players, it's one game at a time. And so the only thing we talked about yesterday was today's game. And so once we get through today, then we'll talk about our plans for the tournament.
Well, Coach, good luck to you guys, not only today, but I'm looking ahead for next week over in Atlanta. And I know you guys are going to come in, man, and the culture and what you've created at Southern, congratulations to you guys and the success that you've had this season and continue to push forward with, man. All the best. I'll be there today, as you say, giving the refs hell, Coach.
Give them hell. Thanks, Perry. Have a good one. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Coach Johnson. That's the voice of Coach Kevin Johnson, the head men's basketball coach over at Southern University. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed the basketball talk as we get to the end of it. Now, when we get back on the other side, we're going to have one of the top investigative reporters here in Baton Rouge, and I think across the country, my man Chris Nakamoto. He's going to come in, and we're going to give you an update on the situation over at Southern, which the young man who lost his life due to hazing. So we're going to give you a breakdown, get you informed, because I know there's a lot of speculation that is going around, but we're going to try to bring you what do we know now. My man Chris Nakamoto from WAFB is going to join us, so you guys stay tuned. We'll be back more on the other side for the Jaguar Journal.
It's On the Yard Sports, and I'm Perry White, and what I need for you to do is go follow and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter right now.
T.R. Ricks is a fifth-year senior who's getting his first chance to drive the train that Bob talked about. And right now, he's driving it quite well because the Southern Jaguars are kicking butt in the SWAC conference. As Bob mentioned, 6-0 overall in the SWAC, and T.R. Ricks has played so well, over 2,000 yards passing. In the last 3 games running the football, he's been over 100 yards on the ground. The respect factor that he gets from his teammates is incredible. As a fifth-year senior who's never started, they elected him captain. And the numbers he has put up are represented on your screen. 27 total touchdowns on the offense, a pass percentage of nearly 60%. He could be the SWAC Player of the Year on the offensive side.
Best, and they're going to get a huge dose of the best offensive player in the SWAC, and that being Thomas Ricks.
Yeah, what Thomas Ricks has found a way to do is just beat defenses either with his arm, with his feet, or with his leadership capabilities, finding a way to win the games late with fourth-quarter comebacks. He showed versatility and athleticism. He's a tremendous athlete that knows how to win, most importantly.
He really is a leader both on and off the field.
I just think it has come to a maturity level. I have a 4-year-old son, and, when he was born, I had to grow up fast and, just staying in school and practicing every day, trying to get better every day, just so he can have a better future. It's just been my inspiration. So, I just think that's my motor that drives me and, keeps me in the game.
His 4-year-old son, Collier, has not missed a game this season. They throw the football around in Rick's dorm room at Southern, and he says it's great playing football with Collier. 1st and 10. Ricks. He's got Vernon. Vernon makes the catch at the 45.
They can run the entire offense with all those guys in the game.
Ricks to Vernon. 1st down. Holmes in the backfield. Ricks. 1st down. Gage on the tackle, but not until Ricks picks up the 1st down. 2nd and 7. Ricks. Overstreet's got it. Across midfield. Ricks. As a receiver downfield, it's caught for a touchdown. Territory. Ricks fakes the pitch, gets inside the 15.
He's in the type of young men that represent his philosophy in life and in football.
Ricks in a shotgun. He's going to run it out to the 10. And 2nd and 11 after the holding penalty. Sidearm toss.
All right, good morning to everybody. It is the Jaguar Journal. Glad to have you guys with us. I am Perry White. Good morning to everybody in our listening audience out there on 107.3 FM around the Baton Rouge capital city area. Good to have you guys with us and everybody listening across the country on our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel at the Jaguar Journal, and be sure to hit that like and follow button on our Facebook as you guys are watching. As we're going further into the show, got a very special guest here. Man, listen, you don't want no problems with this guy. You don't want him in your business, because if he finds out, and he's going to dig, but he's one of the best in the business, and he's going to talk to us about some things today. We want to welcome from WAFB, my man, Chris Nakamoto. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Perry. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, how often do you go somewhere and people say, look, I don't want you in my business?
All the time.
But you're one of the best out there when it comes to bringing information, and we need that in the world today. If nobody's scared to shy away from bringing and digging to get the facts and the information, and unfortunately today, the information that we're going to be talking about for our listening audience out there is the death of Caleb Williams, a 20-year-old mechanical engineering major at Southern University, who, it seems as things are starting to unravel, lost his life due to a hazing incident, trying to become a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And I'm going to start with you, Chris, and let's put together a timeline for people. Let's start by how this thing all began when Caleb Wilson was dropped off at the hospital. Paint that picture and kind of get us going from there.
That's right. So we get a tip, basically, that a Southern University student passed away. This is now last week, so February 26th, 27th. So we publish, hey, look, a Southern University student passes away in what we're hearing from our sources is a fraternity ritual. So that story kind of just floated out there for probably a few days. And then on Mardi Gras Day of this past week, we wind up getting a tip from our sources that that fraternity ritual was all basically a lie. The story that was initially told to investigators was all a fabrication. So we publish on Mardi Gras Day from our sources, the WAFBI team, very first ones to break it, that he actually did not go to this Breck Park where the story that was initially told to police is where they had found him. He was actually at a warehouse. And so once that happened, the whole story just turned into this extraordinary lie that was told by fraternity members, where they had brought him to a hospital unresponsive, and then as police began to kind of chase down leads, it was quickly discovered that he was never at this Breck Park at all. He was at this warehouse. So we go and start asking more questions. We show up at the warehouse, and then we're able to determine who owns the warehouse. We're able to talk to the person who co-leases that warehouse, and the person who co-leases the warehouse was Cleve Dunn, a Metro Council member. He said he had absolutely nothing to do with this hazing ritual. He didn't know anything about it, but he put us in touch with the person that he subleases from, Todd Smith, and Todd Smith informed us that his son is an Omega. And so we start asking more questions, and ultimately police held a news conference yesterday spelling out everything that happened and the extraordinary lies that were told that basically led to the death of this young man who's had such a bright and promising future.
Now, from the initial reports, it showed that it was explained that Caleb Wilson was initially hit in the chest playing basketball. Is that correct?
So the initial story that was told to police was that they were at a Breck Park off of North Sherwood Forest Boulevard, and they were playing basketball. That was not the truth whatsoever. Instead, as investigators continued to start asking questions, they realized, okay, no, he was actually at this warehouse off of Greenville Springs Road, and 9 pledges were in a line, and they were taking blows to the chest. And investigators basically said that they believed that it was Caleb McRae who was the last person who had punched him when Caleb Wilson collapsed. And once he collapsed, he began having a seizure. There were a number of minutes that went by before he wound up going to the hospital, before anyone brought him to the hospital, and not a soul in that warehouse dialed 911 to render aid or offer any sort of assistance for Wilson as he lay unresponsive in that warehouse. The warrants that were issued yesterday and that were released go into very great detail about everything that unfolded. And then we also learned when he was brought to the hospital, he was basically lifeless. He was seen on surveillance video being unloaded from a vehicle, totally lifeless. And the people that brought him to the hospital, they basically took off. They just left him there. And so as police began doing this investigation, it was the hospital that wound up calling them and said, hey, look, something's amiss here. And that's ultimately what started this investigation into Caleb Wilson's death. And, you know, we're here almost more than a week later since these horrific details broke about Caleb Wilson's death. And when you think about it from a family perspective, they have not had any time to grieve. As of yesterday, we haven't checked with the coroner's office this morning, but as of yesterday, the family still did not have his body to even plan a funeral. So can you imagine just literally hearing all these details about what happened, and you haven't even had time to grieve because you haven't been able to lay your loved one to rest? I can't even imagine what this family is going through. It's such a horrific situation.
And, you know, the part that gets me, Chris, was when we found out it was a lie. And once we found out it was a lie, the part was, it seems members got together to conspire to come up with a story while it was still crucial time that was life or death situation for Caleb. The part that where they conspired for a story, and those precious moments were the decision making between life and death.
Listen, in my line of work, what we've seen time and time again, the lie and the cover-up is always worse than just telling the truth. Now, potentially, some of these people could be facing obstruction charges for this lie that they told. So when you start looking at this collectively, you know, if they had just told the truth and if they had just hurried and brought him to the hospital instead of trying to cover this up, would the outcome have been different? You know, we don't necessarily know that. But when you start looking at just the original story that was told, and then now it's a week later and the truth finally comes out, you know, the truth came out on Tuesday when we broke it on Mardi Gras Day, but then when police, from our sources, and then when police verify it during a news conference on Friday, you just look at this all collectively and you're like, man, like at what point do people learn just to tell the truth, you know?
Looking at this story, and you have covered many stories here in Baton Rouge, you know, this one, what you said, it's a heartbreak for the family. It's a heartbreak because even here on this show, we do a lot in terms of covering and telling the truth about Southern, but uplifting. You know, we have think tanks. We do a lot here on this show, but it hit home because it's just like, man, that's right up the road. You just never, I guess, until tragedy strikes, you never expect it to happen in your own backyard, Chris. And for this one to happen in our own backyard, it then begins to put people who you could be close to in the spotlight, and that spotlight isn't so good currently.
You're right. And the university took this extremely seriously. So the moment that we published last week that our sources were saying it was a fraternity ritual that led to this, you know, they said that they had launched an investigation. Then the minute that we published, you know, exclusive details on Mardi Gras Day about what our sources were telling us about this great big lie and cover-up, the university says we've now opened a hazing investigation. They have been proactive every step of the way, basically pausing any Greek intake from what we heard from President Dennis Shields yesterday. And I know that they're very, very well in communication with Caleb Wilson's family and those investigators that are continuing to do the investigation. This is truly a heartbreak, you know, for not just Louisiana, for the entire country.
Yeah.
When you think about this type of death, it's so preventable. It did not need to happen. And when you look at just the feedback that we're getting from just across the state, the country, everybody's kind of echoing these same sentiments. Like this, it's 2025. Why is this still happening? You know, this was a promising young life that was just cut short so unnecessarily. You know, and it comes just 5 years after Max Gruber's death at LSU, where we had meaningful changes to state law. You know, meaningful changes that now can be used to enhance the penalties against these individuals who are now tied to Caleb Wilson's death. And so when you think about this collectively and you think, okay, we made changes to state law and, these laws can be used to basically hold people accountable for what they do, and then it happens again, it's good that those laws are in place, but it raises questions about why this is still happening in the first place. And I think, from a journalist perspective covering it, it's really disheartening for the family to have to go through this and just even the public to have to see, hey, look, this is still happening.
Let me ask you this from your investigative side, from what we know now, where do we go from here, Chris? What more are we looking for people out there who are like, who still have questions and still hearing things? What's next? What's the next step to this thing from what we know currently?
So the next step essentially is we know that Caleb McRae posted a bail last night and walked out. And yesterday during the news conference, they said there were two other individuals that were scheduled to turn themselves in. They're going to be facing misdemeanor hazing charges. So when I hear that, it makes me believe, we don't have their warrants yet, but it makes me believe that their involvement was not as great as Caleb McRae's, because these other two individuals, from what prosecutors are telling us, are facing misdemeanor charges. As of now, we have not been able to confirm whether or not they've turned themselves in yet, or if they'll even have to turn themselves in, because essentially a misdemeanor, they can be issued a ticket. So in the coming days, we'll find out whether or not these other two individuals that police had announced will turn themselves in. And then, of course, from McRae's side, there's going to be, an initial appearance. He's going to have, a court hearing where he's going to have to go before a judge and have an arraignment, where he, pleads, enters a plea to the charges at hand. And they're very serious. The manslaughter charge faces up to 4 years in prison if he's convicted. So this is certainly not something that I think prosecutors are going to take lightly, especially with, just how influential and how well-respected the family of Caleb Wilson is, and just how promising his life was. I mean, when you see his picture and just, it's heartbreaking to just see what happened to him.
Let me ask you this. Conspiracy, and I'm using this word because it seems as this happened, from what I'm hearing, calls were made to how we should handle or go. How far does this stretch beyond just even whoever was in the room compared to who may have given instructions on what to do? Like, how far can this go? Or does it kind of end with who's in the room is what I'm asking?
That's a good question, and ultimately it's probably a decision that's going to be made up to investigators. I think right now, when they're looking at this to hold people accountable right now, today, they're probably only looking at people in the room that were doing the hazing.
Okay.
But as I was saying before, as the investigation continues to progress, if they hear that these orders came from an individual that was in the fraternity that, is a 50-year-old person that's issuing these orders to these 20-year-olds who had done this or giving them advice, I would imagine there would be some level of, culpability that they would face as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure those questions are being asked right now. And it's going to be very curious to see whether or not these young students that were, coming up with this story, and of course Caleb McRae is a former student, he had graduated, if this was something that they all came up with on their own, or did they have any sort of assistance? And if they did have assistance, I would be pretty clear and certain that investigators are probably asking those questions and trying to get to the bottom of it, because it's certainly not something that I would think that they would feel comfortable with knowing is out there if indeed, those orders came from somebody else.
Chris, I say this when it comes to the case, man, and I appreciate all that you've been doing with trying to get us the truth, because at the end of the day, we all want to know the truth, and it's been torn on social media because you have people who are Greek, where I've seen people still trying to defend it in the name of those Greek letters. But at the end of the day, I don't give a damn about none of those letters when a life is lost. There's a limit to anything in life, and it's too far. And when someone is in distress, when there's an emergency, urgency goes into an emergency, and that's the difference on how you handle a situation, what saves lives and does not save lives. And for me, why I feel so horrible about this is a young man in Caleb Wilson who was willing to call these guys his brothers. This was a group that he saw that as a organization he wanted to be a part of to call his brothers. And in the situation of those very ones that he was willing to do, and be in this situation in terms of being at that place, not necessarily the extent, but to be in that place, to go through these things, to be with his brothers. And at the end of the day, the very ones who he considered to call his brothers, in my opinion, seemed like they turned their back on him. And most importantly, where I saw it, where I felt it, was not only the lie, because in any situation, you tell the truth. The truth is going to come out. You tell the truth, but to come up with the lie, and most importantly, Chris, as you said, they left him at the hospital, man. They left him at the hospital the way in the condition that he was, and he's supposed to be your brothers. But yet you don't stand by your brother, potential future brother, whatever the case may be, to make sure you got his back. And then not only did you leave him the way that you did, then you came up with a lie on how we even ended up in the situation. That's what hurts most importantly for me. And the top of the just overall, this young man is taken from his family. He's taken from what could have been a prosperous life from him. And at the end of the day, that's unacceptable.
I don't disagree with anything that you said. And I think when, you look at this whole situation collectively, if the truth had just been told, you wouldn't have basically led investigators on this wild goose chase, because as they're being told that this death happened in the park, think about these resources that were wasted having to go chase down this false lead, this fictitious story that was told about, him collapsing at a park. So as you can imagine, they're now having to divert their attention to an area where it didn't even happen. So if they had just told the truth to begin with, I think, the truth ultimately would have just clarified everything, cleared everything up. But the truth did eventually come out, and it's a shame it had to come out a week later. But fortunately, and I have to say fortunately, there were some good people in that room that when they were interviewed by detectives, they're the ones who told the truth about what exactly happened, and they're the ones that basically led police on this right path of actually what happened to Caleb, so the family can have some answers and closure, as opposed to him playing basketball in this park and just collapsing.
And they thought they were going to get away with that? Like, they told this story to go the rest of their lives thinking they were going to get away with that. That would
in this age of cell phones, it's really perplexing when you think that, your cell phone tracks your every movement. So, these young men that made up this story, they really were playing in a grown-up's world, because the minute that they tell people, hey, look, we're over here, I guarantee you every last one of them had a cell phone, and police probably were in the process of initiating GPS coordinates on all their cell phones, and their cell phones are going to tell them where they were, and it's going to show that they were never at that park. So, I mean, when you think about these stories that you tell, like this was probably hastily created because, they were concerned about getting in trouble. But if they had just told the truth, I think it would have been better for the family to at least have that closure at the beginning, as opposed to, hearing this lie. And then as things continue to develop and come out, I mean, I can't imagine the pain that the family's feeling, with each new day. More information's coming out about what actually happened to their loved one, who they haven't even laid to rest yet. Their loved one is still at the coroner's office, autopsy still inconclusive, still having to undergo more tests, and they're hearing all this information, and they have not even been able to have a proper funeral for him. And so it's just, the whole story is just extraordinary.
Yeah, and most importantly, when you see an emergency situation, you act on it. Don't try to conspire. Don't try to come up. Don't try to hide it. You act on it. When somebody is dealing with a medical emergency, or you see distress, You call 911. You handle that situation. Those precious moments to come up with everything that ultimately blew up in their face could have been those same moments that saved this young man's life and could have kept him here with his family and could have kept him having the future that he had in front of him. Hey, Chris, man, I appreciate you for everything that you're doing, man. Thank you. I know it was short notice, but thank you for coming on with me this morning and breaking this down for people out there, because I've been getting calls from all across the country in terms of people trying to figure it out what happened. But now we got an understanding way better today than we did a week ago of everything that happened in the death of Caleb Wilson, and we're going to continue to keep our ears to it. I know you're going to continue to be working this as we continue to unfold in the coming days exactly what more is a part of this story.
Perry, thank you so much for having me. I hope you have a great weekend.
All right, that's my man Chris Nakamoto from WAFB. We at the top of that. We got to end it, or where we at? All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. Listen, thank you to everybody who called in today. My man Chuck, my man Chris. Thank you to Coach Funches and Coach Johnson coming on, having a conversation with us. Get out there today, Southern University, men and women, both. The men can wrap up the regular season as the definitive champions today. The women have already wrapped it up. So some great basketball today over on the other side of the hump. Women tip off at 2 o'clock. The men tip off at 4:30. Let's pack the mini dome for a great season to support Southern University women and men's basketball team. As the last game of the regular season, they are both headed to the SWAC tournament next week. And want to thank Chris Nakamoto coming from WFB, giving us the inside information in terms of this case with Caleb Wilson, the young man, 20-year-old mechanical engineering major, as well as a member of the Southern University marching band who lost his life. And as the story continues to unfold, we're going to continue to tell it here. And I'm going to definitely invite Chris back to continue as we try to put a bow on this once we get to the end. So thank you all. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. And be sure to like and follow us on our Facebook and everything else. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, X, and all across the board. From me and my man Mike behind the scene, appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week at the same time, the same place, because always, it's the Jaguar Journal. Have a great weekend. What's going on, everybody? I am Perry White. I'm the host of the Jaguar Journal. I want to make sure that you guys tune in live each and every Saturday morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on 107.3 FM. We also have our affiliates in Alexandria, Louisiana, as well as down in New Orleans. And if you're not able to catch us on radio live, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as follow us on Facebook. It's the Jaguar Journal.